Hello there, greetings. Nice to have you with me again today, and thanks for joining us. Not only thanks for joining us today, but thanks for your faithful listening. We have a growing number of listeners, and you're part of it, so thanks. Now, before we start today, you may want to get on the phone and call somebody to listen in today. We're going to look at two major issues today, and from a positive point of view. Who are the positive, effective, successful parents? How do they parent? What are their skills like? What are the distinguishing features of a successful parent? In our second segment today, we're going to look at it. We're going to flip that around a little bit and look at the successful kids. The kids that are adjusted well and are doing well and are successful and achieving. What are they like? What are the distinguishing features of such kids? So, get your coffee, join us, and we'll pitch right in as we take on our lessons today on Dr. Teach Me to Parent. So thanks for joining us. And, let me just put this into context today before we start. First of all, remember, I'm using my book, Dr. Teach Me to Parent. You should have a copy of that from my website, booksbyhedberg.com. But here's the context of it today, and here's the little quote that I'd just like to have you think about. There's no higher calling in life than raising the children God has entrusted to your care. It's one of the highest callings in life. Do right, do well, do faithfully, do successfully. The raising of your children, because they've been entrusted to your care and to your teaching and to your influence and to your leadership and guidance. Take that task seriously, okay? Now, let's take a look at parents who are successful. Parents who tend to do well. And some of the skills, of course, they learned from childhood, and they just brought that into their parenting relationships. But other skills, some of these parents had to learn and had to acquire and become successful in these areas. So don't think of it as all or nothing. You either have these or you don't have them, or that you have them at birth and you bring them to your marriage, you bring them to your parenting relationship. No. Many of these skills had to be acquired somewhere along the line of life. But hopefully by the time you enter into the parenting process, these are the skills that you have learned, because these are the skills that are associated with successful parenting. Okay? Let's take a look at them. Number one, communication skills. Successful parents talk. Successful families talk together. Successful parents have a time to talk with their children. It's usually mealtime, or car time, or bedtime, or after mealtime. But successful parents talk, and they have a time of interaction. They have a time of processing what's taken place in the course of the day, or what's going to take place today, or this weekend, or the week ahead of us. In other words, successful parents really do get into the act of talking with and about their children. But importantly, successful parents talk assertively. They express themselves. They express their feelings. They express their wishes. They express their desires. They say no. They say yes. They make decisions, and they communicate those decisions. So successful parents talk, and they're very, very apt to be assertive and forthright in their communication. So that's number one. Number two is this. We all experience conflict, but successful people handle conflict. Successful parents handle conflict. They're not afraid of it. They don't walk away from it. They don't go in the other room. They don't shut the door. They don't go and hide. They don't leave the place. They don't leave the home. They don't leave the people that they are in conflict with. So conflict is a very important part of life, and it happens, but successful parents deal with the conflict. They listen. They ask questions. They try to find out. They try to learn what the conflict is all about and try to understand it so that a decision can be made as to how that conflict can best be resolved. So look at it from the context of not avoiding conflict, but entering into a conflict and understanding it and deciding what are the options of solution, and then taking one of those and making a decision and following through. So conflict is a very important part of it, but it's the handling of conflict that successful parents really do. Now, here's number three, the importance of education. Successful parents place emphasis upon the education of their children. In other words, it's not kind of a question of whether you're going to go to school today or not. It is you are going. It isn't a question of what college you're going to go to or if you're going to go to college. It's really a question, yet you are going, and where should we go, and what are we going to study, and what are we going to make out of it, and what are we going to become as a result of going to college? In other words, there's a full discussion about going to college and having an education and advancing yourself and being successful. So, successful parents place emphasis upon education. They place high value on education. They want their children to be educated as highly as possible and as well as possible. Now, every kid has its limitations. Every kid has his potential. So it's the educating of the child to the level of potential as possible and maybe a little bit beyond that. Pushing a little bit, if you will. Placing emphasis upon grades, placing emphasis upon homework, getting it done properly, getting it done on time, turning it in, getting feedback, learning from it. Successful parents get involved in the educational process. They go meet teachers. They go to school events. They go to school projects that their kids are involved in, maybe a speech they're going to give or a topic they're going to talk about. They volunteer in the classroom. They volunteer in the school. They help. They stop by the school. They become identified and they become known to the school teacher. So there's a bond, there's a relationship that develops between the teacher and the parent. That's what education is all about. That's placing emphasis upon education. That's what successful parents do, by the way. They also set goals. They also determine what goals are to be lived today. See, successful parents work on a goal idea of what you're going to accomplish today. What's the important thing to do today? What's the important thing to get done this week? What's the important thing to get done this month? You see, goal setting and goal determination is a very important part of parenting. Helping your child determine goals and then work towards goals. Now, when you have a goal and you're going to work towards a goal, there's two things you have to keep in mind. One is there are certain things you do so that you will achieve that goal, but there are also certain things that you do not do to achieve that goal. Because if you do those things, you're not going to achieve the goal. So what are the things that you don't do, and what are the things you do so that the goal that you have identified will in fact be achieved by the kids? So that's how you kind of talk, and that's how you discuss, and that's how you help your kids learn this idea of goal setting and working forward and working into the future and working for something that they would like to have and would appreciate having and would enjoy having, but also can have because they set the goal and they work towards it. So goal setting is extremely important, okay? Start with small ones, and then you move to the big, hairy goals that maybe you won't achieve for a year or two or three. But you start with the small ones on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, and move up to the big, hairy goals that become part of the life of the adult, the successful adult person. Parents set goals. Parents teach goal setting by setting goals themselves and achieving them. Okay? Now, here's another one. Trauma. Big stresses. The big traumas that happen in life. Being falsely accused. Meeting the big bully on the playground. Automobile accidents. The death of someone in the family. I mean, there are traumas that happen in the life of a child. And there are traumas that happen in the life of a parent. And the successful parents deal with trauma. They come around the person who's involved in trauma, the people who are involved in the trauma. They're not afraid of it. They're loving and they're supportive and they're kind and they're empathetic and they're compassionate. Because that's what trauma requires. Trauma requires people to be compassionate and loving and caring and supportive. And that's what successful parents do. They treat a trauma and the people involved in the trauma with love and compassion. And then they teach that to their children. So the children are able to deal with trauma as they enter it into trauma events in their life later on. So handling trauma is a matter of not being afraid of it, but getting involved in it and helping the decision-making process, helping the process of getting through the trauma and living beyond it and coming out of a trauma successfully, better than you went into the trauma. And kids experience all kinds of traumas. Parents' events can be traumatic. Divorces and separations and job losses and rejections of various kinds and false accusations are very, very traumatic. So we do have kind of trauma in our life as parents, but successful parents deal with the trauma. They don't run from it and avoid it. Okay, that's the important thing. Now, also, successful parents, effective parents, good parents, if you will, communicate love and support to their children and to each other as parents and to friends and to associates and whomever. There's an expression of caring. There's an expression of compassion. There's an expression of companionship. There's an expression of love that successful parents are able to say and able to express and to show. Show that there's love. Show that there's caring. Show that there's thoughtfulness. Show that there's compassion, for the kids. Successful parents show the love and compassion and caring and support. Not just talk about it. They live it. They put their hands around their kids, and they love their kids, and they support their kids, and they encourage their kids. There's all kinds of languages of love, as you know that. Sometimes we express our love in words such as I love you, and I care for you, and I respect you, and I want the best for you, and I'm pulling for you, and I'm on your side. All those kind of words are supportive and loving and caring. Successful parents express those kind of words. But also successful parents show love in terms of being like a companion or a friend or helping, being a helper to your kids, being a helper to each other as parents. But be on the helping side, be on the communication side, be on the companionship side. Those are the ways that we express love and care and support for each other. And as you do it, kids will see that and they'll start to do that as well. But that's what successful parents do. They are able to kind of put that love in terms of an act of companionship and contact and togetherness and to communicate it clearly and openly. Okay, that's it. Also, expressing thanks. A very similar one. Expressing thanks. We all like to be thanked. Kids like to be thanked. And successful parents say thank you a great deal throughout the day. Many times throughout the day. They accumulate 20 and 25 expressions of thank you throughout the day. That's what successful people do. Successful parents. Parents who are not very effective only have on the average of 2 to 3 thank yous a day that they receive or that they give. So unsuccessful parents, ineffective parents, don't say thank you. But successful and parents who are effective and strong and very positive in their life for their children and in each other as a couple, give thanks. They say thanks. But there's 2 levels of thank you. One is you say thank you for something that a child did or that somebody has done. You just thank them for that. But the second level is also very important and sometimes even more important. You thank them for being faithful in doing what they did. Thankful for being kind in doing what they did. Thankful for being responsive in doing what they did. Thank you for being responsible for what you did. In other words, it's going beyond just the act of doing something and saying thank you for that. That's important. But to thank the faithfulness of doing it, the consistency of doing it, that's what is often forgotten in our thank yous. And we need to give thank you for those kind of things because that's really where kids are. They want to be thanked. Sure they do, but they want to be thankful that they know that you have noticed that they've been faithful. They've been consistent in whatever it is that you've been asked to do, chores or their homework or, whatever it is. Now, effective and successful parents also engender within their family, within their children, and within themselves a faith, a personal faith. They go to church together. They pray together. They read the Bible together. They talk about religious topics together. They discuss religious topics. They debate religious topics. That's what effective parents do. Religion is not off the table. Like politics, it's not off the table. It's a topic to be engaged in. It's a topic to be thought about. A topic to talk about. It's a topic to explore and make it on a personal kind of basis. That's what effective and successful, parents do. They also assure self-confidence. In other words, a successful parent says to their kids, you can do it. I know you can do it. Or you did it and I knew you would do it. I knew you could do it. I was confident you could do it. And I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you for doing what you just did. You can feel good about what you just did. You can feel confident in yourself. You're gaining confidence. I notice that you're getting more and more confident. That's what successful parents do. They tell their kids those kind of things. They talk to their kids that way. The word of confidence is an important word in family life, and they talk about it, but they try to show how a child becomes increasingly self-confident and how a child can become increasingly self-confident. That's what successful, parents do. So think of it in the sense of helping a child acquire self-confidence. But as a parent, you have to start with being self-confident in yourself. So when you've done something good, when you've done something effective, tell yourself you're proud of yourself and you respect yourself and you're pleased and you're gaining self-confidence in yourself. Because as you have self-confidence, so are your children. But the home is built on confidence building. You always get that concept. You can do it. I know you could do it. I knew you'd do it. You see? Fathers, that's very important. Kids need to hear from their fathers that word of confidence, that word of support, because they believe it. And then honor rules and boundaries. That's what successful parents do as well. There are rules. There are home rules. There are house rules. They live by them. There are rules in the street. There are rules in the community. There are rules in our society. There are rules in every club and every organization that you belong to. They live by rules, and by living by rules, they teach rule living. They teach it to their kids. But it puts order in their life. It puts organization into their life. So successful parents do live by rules and by boundaries. And then lastly, let me just say this. Successful parents heal the hurts and the pain of others. Everybody goes through hurt and pain and distress of various kinds. And it's a successful parent, the effective parent, that comes around somebody that's hurt and hugs them and holds them and gives them the words of confidence and support and care and just encouragement so that pain is less, that hurt is less and begins to go away. Kids who hurt need the love and the care and the feeling of touch and the feeling of being held, and that's what successful parents do. They reach out to somebody that's hurting and they touch them. They help them heal. They're in the process of healing. That's what successful parents do. So there we are. Give yourself a score from 1 to 10, each on each of these points, or the overall idea. How have you done? How would you just put yourself in as a parent? On a 10, well, there probably isn't very many out there that have done 10. But hopefully you're not a 1 either. But somewhere in the middle, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hopefully you're in that range, that you saw yourself in that range, that you're an effective parent. You're beginning to become more effective. You're starting to be more effective. And by listening to this particular program every week, you can become even more successful, right? So look at it from the sake of, how can I become more successful? You learn from successful people. How can I be a more effective parent? You learn from effective parents. That's how we learn. So these are the points. Study them. Now, get yourself a cup of coffee and come back in just a couple minutes, and we're going to pick up successful kids. Who are they? What are they like? What are some of the characteristics of kids who are successful? See you in a minute.
Green Gables Care Home is a 24-hour assisted living facility for the elderly, located in Clovis, California, offering spacious private and semi-private rooms which are wheelchair-approved, catering to the special person in your life who needs attention and wants to live in a loving home environment. The Green Gables Care Home has assisted living and secured homes for elderly persons with Alzheimer's, memory loss, and for your loved ones needing assistance with their activities of daily living. Call 559-307-0950 and visit GreenGablesCareHome.com.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, the Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
Do you need a locksmith? Layman's Lock and Safe Service and Repair is available for you. 559-228-1805.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son, Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010 and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Choosing a Medicare plan can be difficult and frustrating. Susan Hatch can guide you through the Medicare maze and help find the right plan for you. Susan helps people understand the confusing and drastic changes that occur every year in Medicare. Susan will only recommend plans that will protect your assets and allow you to continue to see your personal doctor. As a 100% independent agent, Susan is not controlled by any particular insurance company to steer a person onto any one particular plan. Susan was awarded the #1 Medicare supplement agent in California. Look for Susan's Medicare question and answers every Monday in the Fresno Bee. Call Susan at 559-307-2287 and visit MedicareToday.net. Come learn how to be a better author at the Christian Writers Seminar at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church on Saturday, February 10th, 2018.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Okay, glad to have you back. Here we go again, and we just finished a segment on successful parents. Who are they? What are they like? What are the skills? What are their skills? What are their characteristics? Why are they successful and other parents are not? Okay, now we're going to take a look. We're going to flip this around a little bit and take a look at kids. The kids that tend to be successful themselves, well-adjusted. They tend to do well in school. They tend to do well in the home. They tend to do well in the community. They tend to do well wherever they are. Now, the kids didn't read my book, Dr. Teach Me to Parent, but their parents did, and you need to get a hold of that book, Dr. Teach Me to Parent, from my website, booksbyhedberg.com. Okay? Now, because we're drawing from this book each week, and this topic is an important one. Now, what about kids who are successful? What about kids who are well-adjusted? How are they different? What are they like? What are some of the things about them that's important to know? And you know, you learn from success. If you have a successful child, that child teaches success. You have a successful parent, that parent teaches successful parenting just by living, just by the behavior patterns that they engage in. So what are some of the facts? What are some of the stories? What are some of the issues about these kids who tend to be well-adjusted? Well, first of all, they know that bad things happen to good kids. Bad things happen to good kids. We all know that. You know, but there's a difference. The kids who are well-adjusted, the kids who do well, keep on going. They don't get stuck there. They don't get mad and angry because something bad happened to them. They're able to get up and get going. That old story, when you fall down, you get up and you keep running. You keep walking. You keep going. And that's what happens to these kids who are well-adjusted. Sure, bad things happen to them. Bad things happen to other kids. They know that. We all know that. Parents know that. But the difference is they keep on going. They keep on moving forward. And they live beyond it. They kind of forget what happened. At least don't get stuck on it. Don't get focused on it. Don't get obsessed about it. Don't get angry about it and just keep talking about it. They move on, and it's a new day. It's a new opportunity ahead of them. That's what they do. Okay, that's one thing about successful and well-adjusted kids. Secondly is that we know that some kids get a bad teacher every once in a while. We know that all of our kids have a bad teacher once in a while. That's true. You know, like in church, sometimes we get a bad pastor, or sometimes we get a bad clerk in a store that we have to deal with. You know, or sometimes we get a bad deal when we buy something. I mean, there are bad things that happen. We know that. And sometimes a kid gets a bad teacher. And the kids who are well-adjusted make the best of it. You know, the kids who are well-adjusted just live with it. Try to work a little bit better themselves. Work a little harder themselves to make up for a bad teacher. Sometimes the bad teacher is an inexperienced teacher, brand new out of school, and really doesn't know how to really teach well. Sometimes it's a teacher that's old and just tired and should have retired by now. Or a teacher that has a bad attitude or a bad personality or whatever it might be. But sometimes we get bad teachers. But the kids who are well adjusted live with it, and they make the best of it, and they compensate for it, and they just put up with it. They get through the year. They know that the next year is going to maybe be better. So that's one of the differences there. Now, here's another one. In every group of kids, there's a bully, right? In every group of kids, there's a bully. But the kids who are well adjusted, the kids who are succeeding, kids who do well, stay away from the bully. The bully is somebody to be avoided. The bully is somebody to be pushed away and just left alone. And don't spend time with bullies. Don't spend your time around bullies. Walk around them. Get away from them. Go somewhere else. That's what well-adjusted kids do. They don't fight the bullies. They don't challenge the bullies. They don't deal with the bullies. They don't befriend a bully. They stay away from them. And that's the important thing that successful kids do. They stay away from anybody that's a bully. And that's to be encouraged, in your kids. Now, here's another one. There's always someone who gets more than you. Always somebody that gets a bigger car. It's always somebody that gets a bigger computer, has a better cell phone, has a better iPad. There's always somebody that has better shoes, better clothes. There's always somebody out there that has something better than you. And, it is such that life is not fair necessarily. But you know what? The good kids, the well-adjusted kids, just know that. And they move on. They don't let it stop them. Life is good, but it's unfair. But they just focus on the good part of it. Sure, it's unfair. Sure, it's unfair that some kids do better than others, have more than others. They have different parents. They have different financial capabilities and so on. But you have to look at it in the sense of what good kids do. They see life as being unfair, but life is still good. Their situation is still good. It's still adequate. It's still satisfying. Okay? Now, here's another one. All parents make mistakes. All parents make mistakes. We know that. But the kids who are well-adjusted, the kids who do well, forgive their parents. There's a forgiving relationship that goes between parent and child to parent. In other words, they can overlook when a parent made a mistake, when the parent flubbed, when the parent didn't follow through, when the parent was not totally honest, when the parent was not totally upfront, when the parent made a promise and then didn't follow through with that promise. I mean, parents make mistakes. It's true. Now, parents, don't make mistakes. You're not supposed to make mistakes. You're supposed to guard against that. But if you do, admit it and ask forgiveness of your kids. And the good kids, the successful kids, the well-adjusted kids, accept forgiveness and they'll forgive you and they move on and not hold it against you as a parent. And don't hold that against yourself as a parent either. You're learning. You're always in a learning process as a parent. And you want to use your children and help you be a better parent by this kind of forgiving back and forth and just admitting the mistakes, that you make. So no parent's perfect. No parent is perfect. We know that. Every parent has warts and every parent has some kind of mistake, and not only that, but has some kind of failure or some kind of inadequacy, if you will. So no person is perfect. No parent is perfect. We come with our warts. We come with our mistakes. We come with our inadequacies. We come with our traumas from the past. We come with bad experiences, our own parenting as a parent. We've had, and as a child, we've had bad parenting. We've had examples of bad parenting. And we bring that into our own marriage. We bring that into our own parenting. We're not perfect. But good kids just grin and bear it. Good kids put up with it. Good kids just look beyond it. Effective, well-adjusted kids just grin and bear it and just understand that parents are not perfect. Parents are not always doing the right thing. Parents are not always up to the task. Parents don't always have the energy. Parents do get tired. Parents do have inadequacy of skills in handling certain things and making decisions. But the kids that are well-adjusted just grin and bear it and get through it and move on Don't get stuck by that. Don't get mad at their parents. Don't get mad at their mother. Don't get mad at their dad for being inadequate. They're forgiving. They're overlooking on some of these things. Now, there's always someone better than you. There's always someone better than you as a kid. But you know, good kids, effective kids, successful kids, well-adjusted kids say this: there's a lot more than just being good. There are a lot of kids that are not as good as me, and I'm better than some. Sure, there are kids better than me. Sure, there are kids who do better in grades and do better in their school and do better socially and so on. There's always kids who are better than you. But there's a lot more not as good as you. Not as good as you. And that's what you have to keep that in mind. That's what successful and effective kids do. They keep it in perspective. They keep a balance to all that. They understand that, sure, they're good at some things, but there are other kids that are better. But at the same time, there are kids who are better, but there are also kids who are not as good. So it's a perspective. It's a balance. It's a matter of seeing yourself within the context of all the kids at school. And sometimes you're the better one. Sometimes you're down towards the bottom. Sometimes you're average. They're at different times and in different areas of life, and different skills and different behavior patterns and different subject matters. A kid isn't always good at everything. But there's that perspective. Sure, there are some kids better, but there's always kids not as good. And that's what an effective or a well-adjusted kid keeps in mind. They keep that kind of balance on that particular point. Okay? Now, here's another factor. No is an answer. No is the answer that parents sometimes give. The word is no. What does the word no mean? It means no. It means there's no yes. There's no maybe. There's no tomorrow or later. The word no means no. It means absolutely no. And successful kids, well-balanced kids, well-adjusted kids know what the word no means, and they accept it. They live by it. They know that tomorrow may be a yes, and that maybe next week it might be better. But for this situation and for this time and for this event and for this request and for this desire, the word is no, and they accept it. That's what successful kids do. They accept the word no. They know what it means. They have lived with the word no. Where kids who are not well-adjusted don't know what the word means. They don't know it. They don't hear it. Parents may say no, and then within a matter of minutes they'll change it and say, well, okay. So the word no doesn't mean anything. It's the parent who says no and sticks with it. And that's the child that learns the word no and then learns to live with it and learns to accept it. And that's what successful and well-adjusted kids do. They learn to accept no as an answer. And in a similar way, parents sometimes will say, wait until you're older. Wait until you're older. You know, and our life is like that. You can't drive a car until you're a little bit older, right? You don't drive a car at 15 or 14. Some don't even drive at 16. They're not ready to drive at 16. You have to wait until you're older. You know, there are things that you just wait for. Sometimes you stay up later at night when you're a little bit older. Sometimes you can watch one more program, or you can spend another half hour on your gaming because you're a little bit older now, where younger ones cannot do that. They have to get their bed. They have to get their sleep. So this whole idea of wait until you're older is an important message that parents teach their kids. And well-accepted kids, well-adjusted kids, well-placed kids, those that are successful, those that are effective, will accept that answer. And that they know that in due time, they'll get their turn. It's kind of like sitting in a waiting room of a doctor, or a waiting room of something. You wait your turn, but you know that at some point, your turn will come. And that's what parents teach these kids, and that's what these effective kids have learned. Well-adjusted kids learn that. They wait. They wait for their turn, and they wait patiently. Sometimes not so patiently, but still they wait. And they are able to just come forward when the appropriate time is there. So those are some of the facts of life of kids. But there's a difference in how the effective and successful kid deals with these kind of events. as compared to the kid who is not very successful and very effective. You see? They deal with it impatiently and with anxiety and with fear and with demand and with anger and hostility. But your successful, your well-adjusted kids realize the reality and that there is time in the future for some of these things, that their time will come, and that there are things to avoid, there are things to do, there are things not to do. And they live life with a thoughtfulness, a consideration, and with discussion, and with mutual decision-making with parents. That's what successful kids do. So here's the idea. Successful kids teach success. Well-adjusted kids teach well-adjustment. You see? So watch these kids who are well-adjusted. Keep your eye on them. Follow them. Use them as a model. Use them as an example for your children to learn by. And as you watch kids who are successful and well-adjusted, you become that way yourself. As in parenting, you look for successful parents. As in child life, you look for children who are successful and effective and well-adjusted, and use them as an example, as a model of how to deal with situations in life. You can do it. And that's what parenting is all about. That's doing your job. That's doing the best you possibly can, as a parent, and making sure things move forward and your kid develops as mature as he possibly can. Well, anyway, here we are at the end of section 2. We're going to go on to section 3. Kids have to deal with some pretty tough stuff in life. Kids have to go through high stresses. We're going to talk about that in our next segment. What are the 10 most stressful events in a child's life that they have to deal with? And that these are the stresses that can do your kid in. These are the stresses that can turn your child into depression. These are the stresses that can turn your child into somebody who's not well-adjusted, but socially maladjusted. See, these are the stresses that can defeat. We're going to take a look at what they are. What are the 10 high levels of stress that kids have to deal with? These are the tough parts of life for kids. And as a parent, you need to be able to not only know what they are, keep an eye for them, but how to support a kid when they go through these kind of situations. So remember, it's Dr. Teach Me to Parent. That's the book. The website is booksbyhedberg.com. So I'll see you in a minute. Bye for now.
Dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort. You need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com. Fresno Rescue Mission's Rescue the Children program is a protected, secure environment providing emergency and long-term services to women at risk, abused, homeless, previously incarcerated, and women with children. The community provides women and their children a place to get away from destructive lifestyles, offering a place to heal, learn, and grow. Give to the Fresno Rescue Mission today.
Opportunity isn't always given a door to knock on, so we built one. The door to our kids' futures is often crowded by temptation and misdirection, making it difficult for them to reach their full potential. But once they enter that door, our club door, inside is a place of hope and opportunity. The second home for the nearly 4 million kids we serve every year after school and in the summer. Inside our doors, youth development professionals and mentors provide the guidance, support, and encouragement needed for every kid and teen in an enriching and safe environment, no matter their circumstances. Boys and Girls Club set the standard as the #1 advocate for youth during the out-of-school time. We assure success is within reach for all kids and teens in America, with club members on track to graduate from high school with a plan for the future, demonstrating good character, and living a healthy lifestyle. We're leading America's youth, fostering success well beyond the basketball court through hundreds of programs, from robotics to the culinary arts, providing unlimited opportunities for those seeking. This hope and opportunity builds character, creates leaders, and helps all kids define their future, ensuring young people find their passions, reach for their dreams, and achieve their full potential. Much can be found inside our 4,000 doors nationwide and on military installations around the world. Boys and Girls Clubs is the opportunity for all kids, and our doors are open. Great futures start here.
Satellite television transforming the Middle East through hope in Jesus Christ. Sat7USA.org.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Okay, welcome back. Glad you're joining me again today. And this is our third segment now. We've looked at what are the distinguishing features of a successful parent. Then we looked at some of the distinguishing features of successful children. Now I want to take a focus on a very tough topic, and that is the 10 big stressors for kids. The things that can do a kid in, and the things that a kid has to struggle with and needs a great deal of support while dealing with these kind of events in their life. And we as parents need to know what they are. We need to know how to respond, and we need to know when to respond. And when a child needs that little extra love, that little extra care, that little extra support. I mean, these are the kind of events that create anxiety for children. These are the events that take a child and turns them into a depressed child. These are the things that go on in a child's life that makes them fearful. It might become restless and inattentive, and school grades drop, and extra sleeping or restlessness and more agitation and more irritability and tough times at home and tough times at school and so on. These are the situations that a kid can't deal with very well and needs your help as a parent to deal with these kind of issues and help him deal with these issues so he can move on successfully in life. What are they? Well, the top issue is this: the death of a parent or the death of a pet. See? Kids don't know how to deal with death. Usually the death of a parent or the death of a pet is the first time they've had to deal with death. They don't know what it is. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to think about it. And that's a tough thing for kids. The death of a parent is one of the most stressful and destructive part of a child's life. Sometimes it's the mother's death. Sometimes it's the father's death. Sometimes it's a grandparent's death. Sometimes it's an aunt's death. It's somebody that's close to them and serves in the role of a parent. That's what is the tough one for these kids. So that's number one, the death of a parent. But also, when these kids have pets and the pets die, that's almost the same thing. These kids identify with pets and they become part of the pet's life, and the pet becomes part of their life. And when that's cut off by the death, children don't know how to deal with that either. So that's when they need that extra love and support and care that you will bring around them and just work them through that particular experience. Well, in a similar way, here's the second one: separation of their parents or the divorce of their parents. That's just like a death. That's just one step less than a death. But kids see it in that sense. The home has died. The family has died. The relationships have died. Their support system in the home has died by that separation and by that divorce. This is the same type of situation. That's why these divorce and these separations are tough for kids. They don't know how to handle that. And it's one of the big stressors in life. It creates much anxiety and much fear. What's going to happen to me? That's what these kids ask. What's going to happen to me? Where am I going to go? What's going to be my future? And we have parents that are just fighting with each other and just looking at their own future and their own selfishness at that point in time, and often forget their kids. And the kid cries out in a lot of different ways, and behaviorally cries out, what's going to happen to me? Keep me in mind. Don't forget me. That's what a kid is saying. Okay, number 3 is, in a similar way, when a parent is gone from the home for a prolonged period of time. Now, there are times when parents go to the hospital for a prolonged period of time, major illness. Sometimes they were in an accident and had to be in the hospital for a long period of time. Sometimes parents take trips, business trips, vacation trips. You know, in a long period of time for a kid could be a couple days or a week. Not necessarily a couple months, but even a week can be a long period of time for a child that doesn't see the father, doesn't see the mother, when they've been used to that. So prolonged absences of a parent is another big stress for kids. And they don't know how to deal with that. You know, going to come back? Going to forget me? Going to leave me here by myself? Going to leave me here with my dad? Going to leave me here with my mom? You're not going to come back? That's what these kids wonder. The anxiety is great. The anxiety is very, very, very strong with these kids that have parents that leave because they have to leave the home for a period of time. The longer the time that they leave, the harder it is for kids. It's like abandonment. And the first 3 years of life is particularly important, because if a parent keeps leaving during those first 3 years of life, that kid gets that sense of being abandoned, and that's that anxiety. And sometimes they don't get over it for the rest of their life. It's a major, major factor. Okay. Death of a close family member and the death of a close friend is also a very high level of stress for a kid. It could be grandparents, it could be the aunt and uncles, it could be any relative, it could be a family member, it could be a neighbor, it could be a pastor that is very important to the kid, a youth leader, a school teacher, and somebody in the community that kid knows and knows about, and that person dies or leaves or moves away, and then there's this loss that they go through. These kids can't handle loss, can't handle this departure. Kids have a tough time dealing with that kind of behavior and that kind of absence in their life. So as a parent, that's when kids need that extra effort to come around them and support them and care for them and give them that sense of safety, give them that sense of hope, give them that sense of love and caring that we're here together, we're going to get through this, together. But death and loss of a close family member or a close friend is also a tough one, for kids. So don't overlook these kind of situations of death and loss and departure. They are very, very important for kids. For that sense of abandonment, that sense of a bond. Kids need that bond. And they can't bond with somebody who's not there. They can't bond with somebody who was there and then is gone. Who was there and then is absent. Comes and goes and comes and goes. And sometimes in a divorce situation, a wife or a woman may bring a man into the house, a man may bring a woman into the house, and then she leaves or he leaves, and then somebody else comes in and they leave, and somebody else comes in and leave. That kid is just in a merry-go-round of trouble. Merry-go-round of trouble. They can't bond with anybody, and they begin to not trust anybody, not believe in anybody, not have any sense of longevity. Okay, let's move on. Marriage and remarriage is also a critical stress, for a child, just as we've been talking. Mother gets remarried, dad gets remarried, brings somebody into their home. Now, who is that person? Mom, dad, Call them by their first name. Stranger, who are they? How much preparation has there been in bringing them in a slow, gradual way and introducing them into the family and becoming a surrogate parent, becoming a step parent, becoming a secondary parent? You see, sometimes a primary parent even, for that matter. But the kids have a hard time bringing somebody new into their life as a family member. So the marriage and remarriage of parents is a tough one for kids. And they need a lot of preparation, they need a lot of support, for that kind of event that will take place in their life. And it takes time. But there needs to be that building of a bond, building of a sense of trust, building of a sense of togetherness and belongingness and bonding before a marriage takes place. There needs to be that kind of coming together so the kids will trust the new person coming into their life. That's a tough one. Here's another one. Periods of unemployment. Dad is off work. Dad's been working, all of a sudden he's not working. Mom's been working, all of a sudden she's not working. So we have two things. We have loss of income, which means the lifestyle of the family is now drastically reduced. And we have somebody who is now in the home that usually is not in the home. Somebody at home who usually goes out in the morning and comes back at night. But now they're there all the time. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not so good. But that's a time of adjustments, a time of great stress as to how you deal with these kinds of temporary periods of leaving and coming as a result of employment or unemployment. Now, there are other things that change the pattern of life for a kid, change the pattern of life for a parent. Sometimes it's a prolonged vacation. It's moving, perhaps. That's a tough one for kids, especially when they have to move in junior high levels or have to move during high school years. Those are tough ones to move. Kids don't want to move. Kids don't want to uproot themselves, don't want to leave their friends when their parents move because of a job change or because of circumstances in their life. They have to go somewhere else. I mean, that's a tough, stressful event for a child to have to deal with that kind of change in life patterns of a family as a result of moving. Or maybe as a result of a death, then mother has to move somewhere else, or dad moves somewhere else. And as a result of life events, other upheaval takes place, other changes take place in their life. Whenever there is major change in the life of a family, kids need extra support. They need extra love. They need extra talk. They need talk time. They need explanation. They need to have it worked through with them so they understand. And then even the change in financial status of a parent or of a family is a big deal for kids. You live a certain life because you have an income level, so you begin to adjust and you live a certain lifestyle within that context of that level of income. So if that income drops because of factors, losing a job or changing jobs and the income is less or whatever it might be, when that drops, then kids have a change in their lifestyle. It affects them. And they don't understand that sometimes. Kids don't understand always the economics. So you need to make sure that you have talk time. You need to have time to understand, help them process that, help them see that this is only a temporary change. We're going to have to live differently for the next 3 or 4 months. Then it will probably get a little bit better. But I mean, that's the kind of thing you have to do with kids. You got to sit down and talk to them and help them understand that, because they don't understand it otherwise. And then they get nervous and they get anxious because they're always wondering what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to us, what's going to happen to our future. Overworking parents. That's another one. Overworking parents. Mother works, dad works, big sister, big brother works. I mean, all that. Sometimes these kids live in a family where the working people work an excessive number of hours, and that kid is home alone. That kid is left to himself. That kid has to go to an after-school program and not have the support of parents very much. Maybe only for an hour or two in the evening or a couple hours rather than 4 or 5 or 6 hours, in the evening. Overworking parents is a tough one for kids. And I've said before, the best deal for a kid is when mother and dad work a total of 40 hours. The next best deal is when mother and dad work a total of 60 hours. The worst deal that a kid can get is when mother and dad work 80 hours or more. Those are the kids that shake and rattle and have trouble at school and have trouble socially and are more likely to be in drugs, more likely to have school failure, more likely to have social conflict. So it's the number of work hours. And what kids want is a parent at home when they're there. They want parents to interact with. They want parents to become friends with and do things with. And when parents are working or they're going out socially and they're involved in activities and so on, and these kids are left home alone or left home alone with one parent or left home with a babysitter, these kids have trouble bonding with those parents. And these kids then start to have insecurities, which then will ill affect their schoolwork, ill affect their social relationships, and make them feel much more insecure as children and much more anxious. And let me just add one more point to it, okay? The multi-parent home is a stressful home for kids. The multi-parent home. That is a home that mother and dad are there, but so is grandma and grandpa. Now the kid has 4 parents. You see, that's a multi-parent home. Now, who does a child listen to? Who's the primary parent? Who gives the directions? Who sets the pace? Who sets the standards? Who sets the value system? And when you have grandparents in the home, sometimes they think that they're the primary parent because they're the older ones. And then that creates a conflict, for these kids. A multi-parent home can also be in a divorce situation. They go to the home of a father who is now remarried, so there's a set of parents there. And then they're home with a mother who is remarried, and now they have a separate set of parents there. So now I have 4 parents they have to deal with and receive instruction from and direction from. And if those aren't coordinated well together, those kids are highly, highly stressed kids. The more inadequacy prevails among those kids because they are dealing with multi-parents who aren't saying the same thing. They aren't giving the same message. They aren't dealing with the same value system or the expectations. They're all different. So there we are. Kids stress, if you will. Now, let me just give you one parenting tip for the day, okay? Before we close today. Here's a parenting tip that I'd like you to just kind of keep in mind, okay? Teach your kids how to self-praise. And teach your kids how to praise others. See, it's important for kids to learn that they can praise themselves for doing good. Whenever they've done the good, they need to say, I did good. I really nailed it. I'm good at that. I mean, kids can talk to themselves that way. Teach them to do that. Allow them to do that. You do it. And teach them to do it. And then teach them how to praise other people too. Praise you as a parent. Praise their brothers and sisters and their friends and so on. Get them into expressing of praise and approval, to others. Very, very important. Now, before we go, let me just bring you to my attention to the fact that I do a podcast, and it's at thepsychologyreport.buzzsprout.com. thepsychologyreport.buzzsprout.com. You can access my podcast there, and I talk about a whole variety of topics related to daily living and life, and as a psychologist, how we look at life. So we have over 200 topics there for you. So avail yourself of that. And I would certainly welcome you to be a sponsor of the program. We have a lot of sponsors, and we got room for more. So if you would like to be a sponsor and maybe name a charity that you'd like to sponsor, then you can do that. Or if you have a business that you'd like to sponsor, then let's do that. Get a hold of us here, and we'll work out a sponsorship, for you. So nice to have you with me today, and thanks for joining me. And this is Dr. Hedberg, and it's been Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Okay, bye for now.
CentralValleyTalk.com